Let's get started. All rise. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize the passing of a distinguished citizen and resident, Dr. Daniel Leary, a physician of 45 years in the community, a distinguished scholar, a distinguished service that he provided in our armed forces, and the brother of the former city council president, Chris Leary, who passed away in the last 2 weeks. Thank you. I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ray White, forgot Ray White.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Roll call for the meeting of July 16th. Councilor Junta.
Present.
Councilor Khan.
Present.
Councilor O'Brien.
Here.
Councilor Shan.
Present.
Councilor Tantar.
Present.
Councilor Vogel is absent. Councilor Zeid.
Present.
Councilor Devlin.
Here.
Councilor Earls. Councilor Agaman. Council President Connell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Do we have any late file items?
We have 3 late file items the councils will see on their desk. Communications 65, 66, and 67. 65 and 66 relate to outdoor seating at Superfine on State Street and Fig Tree Kitchen at 3 Liberty Street. And 67 is a block party on Jackson Street.
Motion to waive the rules and accept the late file items.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They'll be taken up in orders. In communications when we get to the regular agenda. And now it's time for public comment. We have 2 speakers tonight, each of whom has 2 minutes to approach the microphone. Derek Hartford of 22 Jackson Street.
Just wanted to apologize for the late notice on our block party that we're trying to do on Jackson Street. I was tasked with kind of getting permission, and I didn't realize really what the process was till Friday. So I was able to get everyone to sign off on it, and I'm kind of hoping you guys, and I appreciate your help kind of walking me through it. Hoping you guys would approve it. We want to do it for Yankee Homecoming and just have bring the neighbors, a lot of new neighbors together, and do that. So, please.
Are there any questions from members before he leaves? Councilor Devlin.
Yes. Typically, we don't have you come in for the committee meeting. They all come to public safety. But I do call and ask you some questions.
Sure.
I can do it now. I mean, they're brief.
If you'd like to, go
I
ahead.
think I can answer most
Have you
of
done
them.
the block party before?
It's been a couple years, but yes, we have. But we've had a lot of turnover, so that's why we want to redo it.
And have you had any issues in the past?
No, none.
And are you, I'm just trying to see where you're closing down between Oakland, Jackson, between Oakland and Woodland. About how many houses is that?
We usually don't go all the way down to Oakland. We go to, we leave Collins open. It's kind of like an L-shaped road. So it's probably 12 houses.
Okay.
And except for the brand new neighbors who we've talked to and they've said they're okay with the block party, we have not told them like specific day or anything. Like we haven't been able to contact all of them with that yet.
You can't deny anybody who lives there
Oh, yeah,
to
we
actually
know.
come. So good idea is to go flyer and if it's only 12 houses, go talk to
To be
everybody.
honest, like the neighbor on the corner, his driveway's there. He always, I mean, we keep it open, so we just want the general traffic not to be using it.
And no amplified music.
No, we just have, it's just us.
And it's 3 to 9. The other thing that we do talk about, it's with the larger events over the past couple of years, in the setting up and the taking down of these events, it goes past 9, which you're allowed to you go to a block party till 10 anyway, but you just want to be careful about, considerate about people, usually it's the amplified music, but,
We picked this date because it's fireworks, which
Great.
will give us a nice ending to it. So we'll be done, so people can go see the fireworks.
I don't have any further questions. Anybody from public safety have any further questions? Okay, thank you,
All right,
Derek.
thanks.
And we'll take this up in communications, in the regular agenda. Second up is Matthew, you're going to have to pronounce your last name for me. Gaudette, excuse me.
Hi, I'm the new proprietor of 17th State Street, formerly Moulton's and Fowles. And in my hurried ways to get this place up and running, and this forum missed my docket of things to do, and I apologize greatly. But we worked really well with the rest of Town Hall and all of our contractors and whatnot to really get things done in 60 days that was sort of allotted to us by the landlord. So I appreciate you hearing my story here and maybe helping us out. We want to be, as a small business, open for the next 4 weeks on the sidewalk. And
This is Superfine Foods, right?
yeah, correct. So,
Are there any questions from councilors?
Yeah, you have tables and chairs out there now?
we do not. Nope, they're in the warehouse.
Thank you.
I'm waiting.
Other questions? Councilor Earls?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead. Okay. I do have a couple of reservations here.
Okay.
One, you have 2 rows of tables, and I believe,
We to interrupt, sorry, but we lost half a row due to a light post, trash can, and a post office, a box, a newspaper box.
there's, on the larger window side, let's put it that way, you have 2 rows.
Correct.
That's coming out 72 inches. Is that what that says, 72 inches?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. That, realistically, that leaves 24 inches of space between the tables. I don't know if that's realistic, and I'm afraid that this will start creeping out. And
Okay.
it's already tight on that side. I am very willing,
I can
personally,
adjust
I am
that.
very willing to give the 3 tables that are right butted up against that. I'm also concerned about packing around this post, the existing column there. Fire egress, I'm just worried about how tight that's getting. This is an emergency preamble. I would love to get you tables out there. I'm very comfortable with the 3 that are hugging the building.
Okay.
Would that be reasonable?
Yeah, it would be reasonable. If we can find a way to make the larger side fit amicably without, maybe we twist them and turn them so it is more than 24 inches between, and we can find a way to get 36. Could we get 2 more over there, if possible? And leaving the 5-foot space to the curb.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilor
I just want
Devlin?
to clarify for a
Yeah.
second, I'm a licensed firm as well. Are you talking about for the emergency preamble to get this up and running now, and then you can still come to us for the next meeting, in our regularly scheduled meeting, where we can discuss the larger configuration? Is that what the chair is?
So the three tables are, I'm comfortable with. I'm sorry.
Councilor
The 3 tables I'm very comfortable with. In our next meeting, can we take a look at the rest?
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Just to get you outside.
I think we'll probably, during Yankee Homecoming, we're going to lose the short side because we've been asked to do like a food thing, I guess, out front.
Okay. Okay, so for that week, you'll have something else
Yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
we're still giving you the table there.
Beautiful.
Okay, I mean, we're not doing that yet, but we'll vote on that.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
I like
I'm sorry.
Any additional questions from councilors?
I'll ask when we get there.
Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take this up during
Thank you
communications.
very much.
Late files are in, public comment, mayor's comment. Mayor Holliday.
Thank you, President Connell, members of the City Council, those in the audience, and those watching at home. It is a pretty hefty update, particularly on the Clipper City Rail Trail and the garage. So I will run through the bullets pretty quickly. I've given you, I think, a brief overview of some information in a previous email. But where we are, particularly with the rail trail at this point, is that on June 28th, we did a site walk out there with Mass DOT and all of our consultants, city staff, and it was decided that We cannot finish that section of the rail trail in its existing conditions. The best solution is to elevate the rail trail so we can protect it down the road from further storm surge, because there was clearly a washout, as you can see from the picture here that I've provided to you. And I know President Connell wants to try and get everyone out there for a site visit, and the project manager, Greg, and Andy Port will join you for that so that you can actually see a little more what's happening there. But we know the rail trail is really popular, it's being used. We'd like to reach substantial completion and sign off on all of the rail trail except for the section behind the wastewater treatment facility. The EPA has approved, finally, after 18 months, the cleanup of the PCBs there. But again, we are concerned about the trail itself and being able to elevate it. I've been in touch with Mass DOT, and they have assured me that they will be following up with a letter to us, letting us know that they're not going to walk away from this section of the rail trail. However, we do need to find additional funds to be able to complete this section. I don't know what's left right now that can be put towards this project. I will get that information for you, but we do have the $122,000 MVP grant that we will be doing a feasibility and design to protect the wastewater treatment plant. It makes sense to combine these two projects and do protection to both of these projects at the same time. So that's sort of in a nutshell. There's some more details there in terms of the process that we have been working on. At this point, the cleanup of the PCBs is, we're talking about $300,000 to $350,000, $250,000 from Mass DOT, and then another $100,000 from the EPA. From the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, their Brownfields program. But that does the cleanup, but that doesn't do the redesign and the construction of that additional site. So that's sort of an overview of where we are. There's a little more details in the bullets there. Moving on to the intermodal facility. As you know, we, during excavation to create the foundation, we discovered asbestos on old pipes. EPA came out immediately, or DEP came out immediately and worked with us. We thought initially it was going to be 12 trucks. It was 24. That has happened. That cost about $215,000. And then because we had to take that fill with the asbestos off-site, we have to bring a new fill, and that's another $25,000. We're waiting. We did additional bores last week. We're waiting for clearance that it's clear and that we can proceed. So that's essentially where we are with the asbestos cleanup. We're hoping to continue working on the foundation later this week. Hopefully we'll get the clearance tomorrow. We had hoped to hear this afternoon, but we did not. That money to cover the cleanup, we, thank goodness, had a $700,000 contingency, and that money is coming out of the contingency at this point. The next challenge that we've had is how to get the 110,000-pound trucks with the precast coming from Shaftesbury, Vermont to Air up 495, and then how did they get to the site? The trucker subcontractor had decided to come in 495 to 110 to Bridge Street, and then over the Gillis Bridge and under the bridge and into the site. However, Salisbury has pushed back significantly on that. It's their high tourist season. They don't want all those trucks on Bridge Road, and they're also concerned about an 85-year-old water main on just before the bridge. So when we met with them, we asked them to formulate a letter stating all of this. It's in the hands of Daly now, the precast, and they're looking at an alternative route. We're suggesting they come in Scotland Road and either go up Parker and go around the Rotary and then stay on Route 1 and then come down on Summer Street and right into the site that way. This is going to be incredibly difficult. It's 5 weeks, Monday through Friday, from 7 to probably the last truck will come in probably around 2:30, and it's going to be challenging. I don't think there's any question about it. But it's really, like I had referred to it as an adult Lego project, because essentially what will happen is that the piece will come in and it will be locked in. Next site will come in, will locked in, and then over the course of 5 weeks you will see this whole exterior of the garage come together. So that's essentially the process. We should hopefully have confirmation of the route within the next day or two, and I will let you know. We presented this to all the abutters at the IAG meeting last week, and we will be doing flyers and notices and website posting and the message boards. We will talk to the IC because we're concerned about school starting. We had thought that this would start sooner, but it's going to go into a couple weeks of school, so we've got to be very careful about the students not coming in from the Court Street side, but from Green Street in terms of accessing the site. So, but we will be flyering the neighborhood. There will be police details, and every corner we need them. And we will be having ongoing conversations, after the first couple days also in terms of how the process is working in terms of them coming onto the site. Whittier Bridge, it's exciting that all lanes of traffic are opened, and we are approaching completion by the end of September. And if you notice the shared use path picture here that I've provided for you, that's what will be the same setup by the Park and Ride site from to get access into the shared use path. We'll have that same type of setup. We're having a little bit of pushback on Spring Lane with the Walsh McCourt in terms of their mitigation, because we believe there's big pieces of the mitigation that are their responsibility because of all the trucks coming in, and they reorganized part of the site to get access onto 95. They have to return the site to its original condition. That should not be part of the mitigation. It's the work over and above that. So we're having a little pushback on a couple sections of Spring Lane, but we're very close to finalizing that mitigation piece. Plummer Spring Bridge, I signed the contract today for $500,000 from Mass DOT. This is with BSC, who will be doing the assessment and hopefully some short-term fixes and then work on a long-term plan. I've been approached by one of the selectmen in West Newbury who is very interested in working with us. And I said, well, if you're working with us, that means you have to put some money on the table to repair the bridge if you want it opened. And he said, we understand that. So we have a meeting coming up, I think, next week to start talking to them about where we're going to go. And they would really like to see this bridge open sooner than later. Phillips Drive drainage, we received quotes for the survey work. We're working with one of the homeowners in terms of installing a drain, and we're waiting for some heavy rain so that we can begin to assess, where that hill area is with the manhole that had been freezing, and we can't trace the water sources unless we have rain and overflow. So hopefully that will happen sometime in the next few weeks. The Graff Road lift station, I can't tell you how well this project is going. They're moving forward with installing the wet well and the stairs to the pump room. The plan is to hook up tentatively this week the force main, and then during August they'll be working on the motor control center. So great project, on track, on budget, going very, very well. The paving of the Knockmolin parking lot began this week. They've marked out the lot, and all staff and people using the parking lot are now using emergency ops for parking, or they're parking in front of the building. We also are keeping the skate park open. Had a conversation with Brian Callahan and some of the other skateboarders, and decided that there's really not going to be, it's not like when we were doing the renovation of the building and they were on the roof, and it's going to be a couple trucks, and if we have cones along the way protecting the skate park, and everyone knows to come in from Johnson and walk in, or from Summit Place. And we also need people to be a little, not to be so restrictive about giving people tickets if they park on Summit while they're doing that parking lot, because we're a little tight for parking there. There's a list of all the roadways and where we are so far in terms of what we've completed, and that will also be posted on the website. On July 6th, I was invited into Sector 1 Boston for the change of command. Many of you had the opportunity to meet Captain Claudia Gelser. She's retiring and was replaced by Captain Eric Doucette. It was a beautiful ceremony at Faneuil Hall, and I also had the opportunity to meet the new commander, Rear Admiral Andrew Tiansong. We're hoping that we can see their attendance at the Coast Guard events during Yankee Homecoming. We're also having, it was sort of unexpected because usually the new chief stays longer than a year, but Chief Brown is in demand, and he is being replaced, and so there's a change of command at the Coast Guard station on July 25th at 10 a.m. if you're interested in participating in that. I know that you have reviewed the transfer request for the resiliency plan in committee, and it will be coming out tonight, I hope, from Finance. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is for this $15,000 so that we can finally put together all the work, all the data, all the research that we've been working on for the past 3 years with the ad hoc resiliency committee, and to bring in a consultant who can take all this information and put it together for a resiliency plan. This is also important for future grants. We had our MVP listening session, which is again part of us becoming a certified MVP community. We had about 70 people there with a lot of positive feedback and good questions and answers. Kilpelman and Page have drafted, been working for many, many months on a model community host agreement, and met last week with Michael Reardon from Happy Valley Cultivation for the cultivation site. They had a much smaller version of the community host agreement, and their attorney is sort of melding the two documents, and we'll come back and talk about that, and obviously the council will have opportunity to weigh in on that too. In terms of personnel, we are still in the middle of HR director interviews. We have 2 more tomorrow. We're hoping by next month we'll have an HR director in place. I am happy to report that the library trustees voted unanimously to approve the promotion of Giselle Stevens to the head librarian. I thank Cynthia Dodd for her 5 years of leadership at our public library. She will be retiring on August 10th, and Giselle will step in on August 13th. Also wanted to let you know that on July 7th, the Senate engrossed House Bill 4249, authorizing the city of Newburyport to hold the special election for the purposes of the terms of Clause 41C1/2 of Section 5, Chapter 59 of Mass General Laws. And in English, that essentially means that was the property tax relief we were looking at and discussed during the fall for seniors. So once we actually receive notification from the legislature, I believe it goes directly to Mr. Jones, and then at that point, we'll come back to the council to begin deliberations on, because I know there were concerns about the language and some of, when we're going to do this election and all of those particulars. There's still a lot of work to do in terms of moving that piece forward. Thank you.
Any questions of the mayor? Councilor Eigenman.
Yeah, I just had a question about the garage. So first, when you say 24 truckloads, it's hard to imagine. I mean, these are 24 dump truck beds?
The, for the asbestos?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That much?
they were dump trucks,
Yeah.
24 loads.
yes. I guess there's only so far you can fill them because of it. I was incredibly disappointed when at first I heard 12 and I was hearing numbers like 28, and then it just kept.
It's just hard to imagine a pipe, but okay. And then, so the bill so far is 240 grand, but is the general contractor going to penalize us because we had to stop work?
No,
No, we're not.
No.
So that's it. That's the total cost.
we're hoping. It depends on what happens with the borings when they come back. They're testing to see if the site is clean, and hopefully we won't have to do any more removal. Hopefully we got it all. I mean, you could continue tracing these things into Waterfront West, for goodness sake. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping we've done what we have to do in order to move forward on the site. You're welcome.
No other questions? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
We had the possibility of a student presentation, the young man who was here at our last meeting, but he's evaporated. So,
Can I ask him, that he came in to meet with me and share his presentation on safe routes to schools?
he did.
Yeah, and so I asked him that it would make more sense that he
Yeah,
come to a
yeah.
meeting on safe routes to schools and sort of present there. I didn't know you wanted him to come back to the city
Well,
council.
I made the offer at the time, and I went and knocked on the door, and the place was locked up tight as could be.
Okay.
And yeah,
Okay.
so the offer still stands. I'll touch base with
He did
him.
a really nice job
Yeah.
of driving around the city and doing videotapes and have some, I think it's nice to have their input on this process.
We'll try again, yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so we're not going to have that presentation. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Will the clerk walk us through it,
The
please?
consent agenda this evening consists of the approval of the minutes for the January 25th meeting. There's one transfer 23, from paid parking $30,000 to vehicle equipment purchase $30,000. That's to go to Budget and Finance. There are 5 communications. First communication is 47A. It's an additional communication into an already existing communication, 47 in committee, which essentially changes the date from August 7th to August 14th for the Jeannie Geiger Walk. Communication 61, the Tree Commission Annual Report, FY 2018, to be received and filed. Communication 62, Whittier Votech Gross Budget 2018-19, receive and file. Communication 63, a letter regarding Ferry Road traffic and parking to go to public safety. Communication 64, an A-frame petition from Seabags downtown to go to license and permits. One appointment, appointment 57, Willem E. Vanderstaat, 55 Highland Street from Salem, Mass. As an assistant harbor master until 8/1/2021. That's the consent agenda this evening.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No? Okay. Let's move on to the regular agenda. We have the mayor's update. What's the will of the
Receive and
council?
file?
Second.
Moved to receive and file and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have no second reading appointments, no appointments at all to deal with, so why don't we move on to communications? We have 3 late file communications, 65. Let's deal with that one first, please.
65, the first thing would be an emergency preamble submitted by Councilor Eigenman, which essentially states that an application for outdoor seating for superfine food is time-sensitive due to its seasonal nature and should be completed before the next council meeting on August 13th, 2018.
Councilor Eigenman.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilor Eigenman again.
Yeah, so we had a sneak preview when Mr. Gaudet spoke before. I think the path forward here, we understand the emergency, Yankee Homecoming is almost upon us, needs to get open. If we just did the 1 row of 3 tables, I think that's the way we can go forward on this. And then please come back in August and we'll reevaluate. Remember, we have to keep 5 feet clear for handicap access. So that's my recommendation. I realize that goes to the next motion as well.
Right.
But the emergency is predicated on that understanding.
That was my question. Thank you. Further questions or comments from councilors? Hearing none, do we have to vote a roll call on emergency?
We don't have to, good practice. Maybe we need 2/3.
Okay, let's take a roll call on it, please.
So motion to approve the emergency preamble for communication 65. Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien?
Yes.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Tantar?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Devlin?
Yes.
Councilor Earls?
Yes.
Councilor Eigenman?
Yes.
Councilor Connell?
Yes.
So EP, the emergency preamble passes.
Is there a motion on this matter?
Motion to approve with the amendment of 1 row of seats, 1 row of tables nearest the building.
Second.
And seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, I think we can do this with a roll call. All those in, I didn't catch
I just
it.
want to confirm,
Councilor
so
Zede?
1, 2, 3, is that what you mean? This is the wall of...
One on the short side.
1, 2, and 3? That's what you're referring to.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So,
Comments?
if I might, Mr. President, so just to be clear, it's 1 row of tables consisting of 3 tables adjacent to the building?
Correct.
Yeah.
Councilor Zede?
I'd like to just make a suggestion that rather than maybe pass it with that amendment, I think it makes sense to try and send this to committee also. So approve the 3, but send it. So if we approve this with it amended, it'll be off the table. He'll have to start all over again. So if there's some way to split it, maybe to make the motion clear that we want to approve the 3 and refer the rest to committee, I think that will save gentlemen some time as well as the committee from having to start the clock all over again.
That's fine. You're proposing to change my motion accordingly. Okay, so
It's a conditional approval for part of it and a concurrent referral to committee.
Yes.
Fine with the second.
Second.
and seconded?
And I'm sorry, I just want to have one other comment on the order. I think there's an order that the liability says the city of Newburyport's an insured where required by contract or written agreement, so that we amend the order to say that it's required that the city be a named additional insured, and then we close the loop.
Second.
We hadn't acted on the first motion, Councilor Agaman and Councilor Zede, so would the sponsor be amenable to that as an amendment to your proposal, the original proposal?
Yes, he's nodding. Let the record show.
In the best parliamentary tradition. Okay, so the proposal is to amend, to approve as amended on a conditional basis for some limited seating now, which you've defined, and a concurrent referral to committee.
And that the city of Newburyport is named insured.
Is
Thank you.
named as the insured. Everyone's clear on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Councilor. I can't wait to see the minutes.
Do you want this, Richard? I wrote 1, 2, and 3 on them if you want.
Move on to Communication 66, which is also late file.
That would be starting with the emergency preamble.
Motion to approve.
Second.
On the emergency preamble. Discussion, Councilor Eigenman.
Identical situation, except I didn't hear about this one until Monday. The other one I heard on Friday, so even later. It's just one table, here it is in all its glory. The applicant could not make it tonight. I think it speaks for itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Yes, Mr. Clark.
Mr. President, I just wanted to report that at the suggestion of Councilor Argument, I did go down and talk to the ADA coordinator, who noted to me that he had signed off on both, and that he found sufficient width, meaning 5 feet.
Good point. Good point. Although, since we need a 2/3 majority, I'll take a roll call on this matter, please, on the emergency
So
preamble.
roll call, emergency preamble, Communication 66, Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tonto.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Affirmative.
Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Agaman.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes.
Motion to approve. Second, single table.
Any amendments to this, Councilor, or are we? It's pretty straightforward, I think. Councilor Zede?
Similar amendments to the last one. So looking at the certificate, it says certificate holder is listed as an insured per written contract for the purpose of liability only with respect to operations performed by the insured. I don't quite get why they'd have to say that, but that's fine. And then the second thing is that also, that the policy remain effective for the entire period, because these expire in about a month, August 21st, it looks like. So those two conditions on the one table.
Is that an acceptable amendment? to the
Very much
sponsor?
so. Thank
It
you.
is. All right. Do we need any further clarification? Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move on to Communication 67, please.
Communication 67 likewise has an emergency preamble for the same generic reason that the date of the event is prior to the next council meeting scheduled for August 13th, 2018. It is, as previously mentioned, the closure of Jackson Street between Oakland and something close to Woodland.
Councilor Tonto.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So the motion is to approve the emergency preamble. Needing a 2/3 vote, would you like to speak first?
Yeah, just quickly, Mr. Hartford did not tell you that this task of arranging to get the permit fell to him this year. Other people have done it in the past. He had no way of knowing that we weren't going to have a late July meeting. So I would ask you to give him some consideration. The neighborhood's been doing this for the past at least 3 or 4 years for Yankee Homecoming, and there haven't been any problems. So I'd urge you to vote yes.
Other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call on the emergency preamble.
Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tontar.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Agaman.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes. Now, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And seconded. And the matter is the approval of a block party permit. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have fun.
Thank you.
We'll move on to orders. There being no other communications other than those 3 late files.
So tabled order 45.
Motion to remove from the table, please.
Second.
All those in favor, discussion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. It's off.
Motion to approve with 2 amendments. One is that yes, thank you. One is that these are very similar to my previous amendments. That the City of Newburyport, that the insurance certificate be updated to reflect the City of Newburyport as an additional insured with no other qualifications, and that the insurance certificate remain valid and current throughout the entire duration of the permit. I think we got a little lost in the shuffle here with the holidays. I did try and communicate with DPS, but we missed each other. That's why it was on the table in the first place, so I hope you'll accept it with those 2 amendments, and then they can straighten it out with the clerk and move on with it. The other parts of the application look great. They had several references and so forth that were reviewed.
So it's a motion to approve as amended.
Yes, please.
Comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
Let's see, we're to order 47, I believe.
Order 47 reads, no parking on the following streets or portions. Greenleaf Street, no parking on the northerly side from Auburn Street running in an easterly direction for a distance of 285 feet. Submitted, Councilor Shan.
Motion to remove.
Second.
All right, motion to approve.
Second. But motion to what?
Do you want to
Committee.
refer
Sorry,
safety.
refer to committee, sorry.
Yeah.
public safety?
Safety.
And is it seconded?
Second.
Whatever.
The motion is to send to public safety. Discussion, please. Councilor Shan.
This is just codifying what is already out at the location. This is for the fire departments leaving their station, going down to Greenleaf Street. So this is just taking the barrels away and adding signs, so.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of referring this matter to public safety, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. It's referred. Ordinance, Order 49.
City Council hereby approves and authorizes a preservation restriction between the city acting by and through the Historic Commission for the property known as 58 Middle Street Realty Trust, located at 50-58 Middle Street, Newburyport, Mass. Submitted, Councilor Agaman.
Motion to refer to planning and development.
Second.
The motion is to refer to planning and development. Discussion. Comments, questions? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is referred. Order 50.
Order 50 is the list of CPC recommendations based upon a total amount of $1,214,000. You want me just to run over the request or not, Mr. President?
How about just a summary? Yes, please.
Okay. In this list, we have the Affordable Housing Trust, $150,000. The Housing Authority for Kelleher Gardens, $13,000. YWCA Women's Residence, $20,000. Slate Roof Repair, Newburyport Maritime Society, $101,000. NHS Exterior Woodwork Restoration, $59,000. Cushing House Laundry Yard Courtyard, $19,000. Open Space Reserve Fund, $150,000. Master Plan Lower Atkinson Common, $25,000. Specimen Trees for the Mall, $11,000. Gateway Phase 2, $35,000. Open Space Recreation Plan, $30,000. Restoration of the fountain at the Mall, $10,000. Clipper City Rail Trail, Edible Avenue, $7,600. Little River Nature Trail, kiosk, $8,500. Fuller Field Track Renovation Phase 2, $125,000. Bond payment, $153,000. Open space bond payment, $95,000. The next two are bond payments. NHS Stadium, $123,000. Cherry Hill Soccer, $12,000. And then administrative costs, $12,000. Submitted, Councilor Tonto.
Motion to refer to Budget and Finance.
Second.
Second. Discussion. Councilor Z.
Just for safety, I wonder if we should include committee of the whole, just in case many want to come and speak.
I don't object.
That's not an invitation, it's just in case.
So we need two-thirds vote. Right, to make it committee of the whole?
Two-thirds, yeah.
So,
Is that
is that
a
accepting a friendly amendment?
friendly amendment?
Accept it as a friendly amendment.
So it's now Budget and Finance and Committee of the Whole.
And is it friendly to the second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call.
Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
Oh, yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tontar.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel. Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel's not answering. Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor
Quiet
Earls.
tonight.
Councilor Agaman. Councilor Connell.
Yes.
10-1.
So the CPC recommendations are to Budget and Finance in the whole. We'll move onward to ordinances. We have ordinance number 12.
Which is a second reading of the following pertinent sections of the PII ordinance. Finally, any personally identifiable information, that is license plate data, collected in the course of parking regulation enforcement via any means that does not result in a violation or warning shall be discarded within 24 hours of collection. Note, nothing contained herein shall prevent the parking clerk from collecting and retaining information of a general nature without PII to be used for parking reports and studies. Submitted, Councilor Zede.
Motion to approve on second reading?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Well, Councilor Agaman, I'm sorry.
Yes, the sponsor and I were contacted by Ward 2 resident and Disabilities Commission Chair Jenny Donahue. So just to clarify for the record, I want to draw the attention of the council to the words violation and warning. So it doesn't actually require that there be a fine issued. Her concern is they're having trouble educating people about using their disabled placards properly. Under state law, you're supposed to, your name and the date of expiration of the temporary placard needs to be shown outwardly. And we often have a situation in report where people don't do that and they keep it inward and they can't be read. Probably 1 out of 5 cases is just an innocent mistake, and 4 out of 5 is not an innocent mistake. So Ms. Donahue asked that I clarify for the record that that kind of data could be retained so that we could improve our enforcement, because it does not say that a fine has to issue, it just has to say it has to be a violation or a warning. So with that, I intend to vote yes.
Further discussion?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, that was a second, it was a motion by Councilor Zede? Second motion, thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, we'll take a roll call on this matter.
Second reading, ordinance number 12, Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tontar.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin. Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Agaman. And Councilor Connell.
Yes.
10-1, second reading passes.
We move to committee items, Budget and Finance. Councilor Tontar.
Motion to remove transfer 15.
Second.
Moved and seconded to remove transfer 15 from committee. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, it's out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve transfer 15. Councilor Tontar.
Yes, we originally saw this as transfer of 15 when it was a transfer of $15,000, $35,000 from the solid waste fee, and we transferred $20,000 to the household hazardous waste at the June 25th meeting. What we held in committee was $15,000 for the resiliency plan technical assistance. We held in committee because council had previously approved 2 transfers, one of $40,000 for a resiliency plan for the water protection of the water supply, and another was a $75,000 transfer for what was called a resiliency plan for the wastewater treatment facility. And in committee, we just wanted to make sure that we understood the difference between these 3 transfers. And we did get that information. Essentially, the water and wastewater treatment facility transfers are going to develop feasibility studies to the design phase. Both of those projects threaten, one, especially in the Artichoke Dam area and Bartlett Springs. If sea level rises or storm surge, water comes up the Merrimack, salt water could at this time get into the Artichoke Reservoir. And so that $40,000 feasibility study and design will attempt to prevent that from happening. Probably the most vulnerable asset we have is the wastewater treatment facility. So the $75,000 is a feasibility study and design study to protect the wastewater facility. The $15,000 left is for technical assistance. It's actually for a technical writer. The Community Resiliency Committee was formed in 2015. It's a committee of volunteers from the community plus department heads. They have been working with some information they got from the Sandy grant on the Great Marsh Coastal Adaptation Plan. It's a regional planning effort with other communities, and it has been studying the impact of climate change or global warming on sea level rising, storm surge, flooding, and extreme weather events, such as droughts and some of the kinds of storms that we've had hints of. Under a state municipal vulnerability preparedness community grant, they also had a hearing about 2 weeks ago in which they presented some of their findings to the public. Councilor Shan was there and I attended, and my opinion was it was fairly thorough. However, it is a committee of department heads and volunteers, and they need people, they need technical assistance in putting together the final report. Now, the final report will be to create Newburyport's own resiliency plan. Right? Remember, we've been working with other communities, and now we're getting down to doing our own plan. There'll be an intro that reviews what has been done and the information gathered. There will be a hazard assessment, which indicates the potential hazards such as rising sea, hurricanes, some that we wouldn't think of, including earthquakes, typhoons, volcanoes, I suppose. The vulnerability assessment. There is a super volcano under New England. I'm sorry. We'd be eliminated very quickly. The vulnerability assessment will be a listing of those assets that are most vulnerable. I mentioned the wastewater treatment, but there are others. Then the fourth chapter would be adaptation strategies. And in coastal communities throughout the United States, there's a triumvirate of responses that would be designed. One is to protect, the second is to adapt, and the third is, if necessary, to retreat. And that is, Army Corps of Engineers is recommending that all coastal communities do that, both coasts. The next to the final chapter would be on implementation, which is essentially, from the information we got, would be identifying potential grants, looking at the CIP to make sure that our capital improvement plan included capital projects that are necessary for protection and that sort of thing. And then finally, the final section will be on continued public involvement. Committee voted 3-0 to recommend approval. Thank you.
The only thing I would add is that there was also some grant money offered through the National Wildlife Federation that got the ball rolling initially. Thank you, Councilor Tantar. Councilor Zede.
Thank you. So I did vote for this in committee, but it did give me quite a bit of heartburn all weekend, and here's why. We did get the outline, and I think what's giving me heartburn is remembering the master plan process and how maybe that didn't go so well. I think there are some pretty controversial items when you talk about resiliency. For me, particularly as the Ward 1 councilor, of course, Plum Island's always a question. If somebody wants to take me out for coffee, I can give you a 5-hour lecture on Plum Island and erosion and jetties and all the things I've learned. But what I'm kind of concerned about is that while I'm very supportive of the concept, and of course I want to see it come together, I just wonder if the process is right, that we go out and have it written, and then we come back and we get something like the task list, which we had in the master plan, which caused quite a bit of friction, as I recall, even all the way to the end. This is a big deal. There was an article in the paper just a little while ago with quotes from the mayor and about retreating on Plum Island, and there's implications for Waterfront West and the zoning we're talking about there. The wastewater treatment plant, which we just spent another about $5 million on with respect to odor. So I'm going to vote against this tonight. I just think we need to get, my opinion is we should get the information in front of us, try and see what we can agree on, and then have it written rather than doing it the other way around wherein we've already expended the money and then we have a document that maybe, and it may end up just being me, but maybe causes issues or challenges. So again, very supportive of the concept, appreciative of all the work that the volunteers have done, but it's not an easy one. It's not an easy topic. So those are my thoughts, and ask you to consider them.
Further comment? Councilor Khan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I'm also on the Budget Finance Committee, and we had a conversation with Molly Attenborough about this and the technical plan that they're developing. What she had told us is that many of the folks in different departments and some other folks here in the city have already come up with a lot of this in the plan. They've really already developed it, and it's really trying to get a technical writer to put it all together in one document. So what I suggested, since this is already being discussed and items have already been identified, that they actually present to the City Council informally or in some mechanism where we could hear, now that they've put together all this information, and then provide some feedback. So what I'm envisioning is some kind of a dialogue with them when they present the plan. And at that point, because they've already thought a lot of this through, we're not wasting time, we're not spinning wheels, but we're actually having a dialogue. So I'm going to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further comments? Councilor Devlin.
Did they explore are there any grants? I'm surprised there aren't any grants for getting a technical writer to help write this plan, given today's climate. Did they explore getting the $15,000 through grants?
We did not ask that question in committee.
Perhaps the administration wishes to comment?
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. Molly Attenborough is extremely thorough in ferreting out any grant programs that might have been able to pay for this, and I do not believe that she had found one to date. As the mayor said in her update, she strongly approves this. To push it off, I was there the whole Saturday when these recommendations were made. There's a lot of time and effort that's already gone into this program, and as the mayor said, she strongly approves it going forward.
Comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor then of this particular appropriation recommendation of the committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
2 noes.
2 noes, I hear you. Thank you. Is there anything else out of budget and finance?
That's it.
Education? It's summertime. General government, nothing to report. License and permits.
Yes, there is.
Councilor Earls.
First, I'd like to just call your attention, the waterways ordinance is not coming out tonight. We did have a discussion with a harbor commissioner. The latest and greatest copy is on your desk to replace everything else. In the bold is what was highlighted, so the bold lettering is what's being added, and then you'll see the cross out is the deletions. We'll get more into this. We've asked them to come back with more financials, saying how did they arrive with these numbers, what do they expect to be at the end of the year. We know they have about $500,000 right now in their account. What do they expect to see? What were the actual numbers? They couldn't have pulled these out of the blue, so that's what we were looking for. So this will be coming back in August. There's no big hurry. 90 to 99% of the boaters have already paid their July 1 waterway fees, so it's not a big emergency at this point, so we'd rather do it right than do it quickly. Furthermore, can I now ask that communication number 56 be brought out?
Second.
Moved and seconded to remove 56 from committee. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's out.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion, Counselor Earls.
Okay, Salt and Grove is a retail store that is located at the Bleecker Heel building, which is on Prince Place. Their first floor retail store, actually down a half a level. They now have a sign illegally on the corner of State and Prince. That is on the outside corner. It was the committee's suggestion. I could not get in touch with the applicant. The applicant was away, unfortunately. But it's our suggestion that, okay, it is a tough location to see. We could live with the sign as long as it's brought closer to the building. So the committee was 2-0 that this A-frame sign would be approved if it was brought close to the building, not put out on the outside corner where it now resides.
Further discussion?
Just for clarification?
Yes.
So it's now at the corner, and so it would be brought closer?
To the corner of Lexi's, is the best I could describe it.
Okay. Thank you.
Other comments or? Councilor O'Brien?
So this will be on, thank you, Mr. President. Will this be on Prince Place to sign then? So if they come around the corner from Lexi's, they're going to trip over the sign, is that possible?
Fair question. Councilor Earls?
It will actually be on State, so you'd see it as you're walking up and down State. If you did come around from Prince and made that turn to Lexi's, you could run into it. Perhaps we just ask to bring it back away from the corner 2 steps.
Adjacent to the building.
Mm-hmm.
Additional comments or questions? Councilor Zede?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that it's my understanding when we vote on these that this will be good for 1 year. This is a new application, doesn't exist, so it's a 1 year without having the ordinance in front of me. Because we don't put expiration dates or anything, but the applicant should know that this isn't a lifetime grant. It's you know, see you next year kind of deal, see how it goes, so. And this, I'll just say ditto for the other ones.
And I'm sorry, there was one more amendment? I'm so sorry.
Councilor Earls, respond, and then Councilor Devlin. Did you wish to respond?
I'm actually not responding to that. The response is that there is no certificate of insurance with this application, so if the clerk could be sure that there is a certificate of insurance included. Thank you.
Councilor Devlin.
That was the main topic of discussion at the committee meeting, was about the fact that in a year we can revisit this. So in a year we can revisit this. These are not permanent, so that if we get some feedback, negative feedback, or it's not working, we can adjust.
Councilor Agaman?
Well, I'm willing to support this. It sounds like that's what the committee wants to do. This is a high pedestrian traffic corner.
Sure is.
So
Yeah.
I take to heart what the counselor from Ward 6 was saying. It really has to be placed carefully or someone's going to trip and get hurt whipping around that corner, because it's a pretty blind corner. I make that turn a lot. And you know, so, and they got all the more reason why they need to get the insurance certificate in. And finally, it looks like the sign's been up there illegally for a while. So, you know, we're going out on a limb for an applicant pretty far. I just want to say that, and they're not here. So it's a little irritating. Thank you.
Further comment? Hearing none, I'm going to ask for a roll call on this matter.
The motion to approve with the stipulation that it be for 1 year and needs insurance, naming the city of Newburyport, and it be adjacent to the Lexi building. Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien?
No.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Tontar?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Devlin?
Yes.
Councilor Earls?
Yes.
Councilor Agaman?
Yes.
Councilor Connell?
No.
2 noes, 1 absent, motion passes.
Anything else in committee?
Motion to remove communication 60.
Second.
Moved
Printed
and
sheet.
second to remove communication number 60. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
There is a second. Motion to approve. Councilor Earls?
Another off-site application. This one is actually in Tracy Place. It's the building in back before you get to Jewel of Crown. It's a retail store. They're asking, and they do have an illegal sign right now, basically on Pleasant Street at Tracy Place. There's a lot of room there. There always has been signs there in the past years. The committee, again, thought 2-0 that this is fairly appropriate for the 1 year, again, with review. And so that's the way we voted 2-0, to allow that to be on Tracy Place, adjacent to Pleasant Street.
Further discussion? Councilor Agaman?
I'm just wondering if there are other illegal signs that are going to be coming in. I can think of another one, but I haven't seen an application. Do we have any information on that?
Councilor Agaman? Sorry, Councilor Earls?
While I'm walking around, there are some illegal signs. I don't know if I want to call them out right now. There are no applications for them. I haven't been able to reach out to the would-be applicants to get them in. But some of them look fairly new. Some look like they've been there quite a while. So I'll be working with the city clerk's office to identify.
Councilor Khan?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. If I'm not mistaken, I thought, and maybe I'm kind of forgetting the chain of command, but there is the city's Lois Henniger, I think, is the one responsible.
Yes.
So when I heard that you're walking around, is that really the job of the counselors to go around and identify these illegal A-frames? Just wondering.
Councilor Earls?
It's an ad hoc walk. I'm not walking to look for it. I'm walking downtown. I'm looking at a sign. It's okay. I see it. I can identify it. So it's not I'm looking for problems. They've come up in my just walking around the neighborhood. So no, I'm not looking to identify them. They're identifying themselves.
2 or 3 hours a day walking down there.
Would this be an appropriate time for the administration to weigh in on this matter?
Sure. Lois does go around probably 2 to 4 times a month, issues warnings, speaks to the shop owners, gets them to fill out applications. She does follow up if there are any illegal signs specifically. Counselor, I can certainly take those and follow up for you.
Yep, thank you.
Councilor Zede?
One comment and one question. So the comment I have is I was thinking about this, and I think as a council, maybe what we could do is next February, send a letter to the chamber and say, here's all the way that everything works. Here's how you get outdoor seating if you want it. Here's how you get a sign if you want it, and get ahead of the season. Because if you do it in February, there'll be some time. I think as a body, that would be something that we could do that would be positive to let the business owners know. And then the second thing was, so I've got that on my list to remember next year. And then the other thing is the liability is expired. So if we can get a new one, it expired 3 days ago, July 13th, 2018. So
May I ask for some clarification?
we just get as an amendment to clerk to requisition a new up-to-date form.
Is that a
which
friendly amendment, Councilor?
Well, I think they got it.
Without a doubt.
they got it? Did I miss it?
There's a new one dated, if I may, there's a new one in the
Councilor Agaman.
packet. There's a new one in the packet dated June 27th.
Yeah, but you see the policy expires. It says 7/13/18.
Where are you looking?
About midway down the page, it says the policy number.
2018.
It's effective from 7/13/17 to 7/13/18, which was 3 days ago.
But at least the illegal one is covered right now. Or was.
No, nothing's covered now, yeah.
So it's illegal and not covered. Great.
Let me try to understand the amendment you're asking Councilor Earls to accept, and that is that
The approval is contingent upon the clerk receiving an updated and valid insurance
is
certificate.
that an acceptable amendment?
Without a doubt.
Acceptable to the seconder?
The city's not listed as insured.
It is, it says certificate holder is listed as an additional insured, and then the certificate holder shown at the bottom left, City of Newburyport.
Bottom left?
Yeah, yep,
Oh, there it is. Yeah, thank you.
sure.
Yeah, all set.
Okay. Everyone understands it now? So the motion is to provide an approval contingent upon having a valid and enforceable insurance certificate naming the city as the indemnified party.
1 year.
Okay.
One
Go
year.
ahead, Richard, what?
And for 1 year, I believe.
For 1 year, thank you. I'm going to ask for a roll call on this as well.
This is Communication 60. Motion approved for 1 year with the stipulation that the insurance be updated. Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
Counselor O'Brien.
No.
Counselor Shan.
Yes.
Counselor Tontar.
Yes.
Counselor Zede.
Yes.
Counselor Devlin.
Yes.
Counselor Earls.
Yes.
Counselor Agaman.
Yes.
Counselor Connell.
No.
2 noes, 1 absent, 8 yes.
Motion to remove communication 55, Sweet Haven Gallery, movable sign.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, it's out.
Motion to approve.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Counselor Earls.
Again, we met 2-0. We were a little bit more reluctant here. The applicant does have a legal sign on In Street adjacent to their business, which is down below in one of the basement retail stores. The applicant is looking to bring a second sign, which is presently there, onto Straight Street at the end of the tunnel, is the best way to describe that. There are photographs showing exactly where they have it placed now and where they're requesting to have it placed. The reservations were, well, you know, they are on In Street. They do have some exposure there. The understanding is, though, that, yes, better exposure on State Street. We want to help businesses. My thought process was there are not a lot of applications coming out right now looking for this space. I could really go either way, but I'm tending to go toward pro-business and say, yes, I'd like to see the business survive with more exposure.
Further discussion.
Oh, and the insurance. And with an updated insurance, because it expires on August 2nd. Yes. Does that need amendment?
Counselor Devlin.
On this one, I would say they couldn't get us one that was going, they can only get us what their current policy is. So they will send, by the terms and conditions of the license, they will have to give us a new one. It's gonna have to be, but doesn't really make a difference. But.
Further discussion. Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call again.
Okay, I assume this is an approval for 1 year?
Yes,
Unless otherwise told, and updated insurance certificate unless otherwise mentioned. Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
No.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tontar.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Agaman.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
No.
2 no, 8 yes, 1 absent.
And that will be enough for tonight, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you very much.
Neighborhood and City Services.
Nothing tonight.
Planning and Development.
Yes, motion to remove order 46, preservation restriction on
Second.
496 Merrimack.
Moved and seconded to remove, it's order 46?
Ordinance.
46, okay, thank you. Discussion, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, it's out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve, discussion, Councilor Agaman.
Yes, the committee met earlier this evening. We asked questions of the attorney for the property, Mark Griffin. Everything seems to be in order. This is a perpetual restriction. There's no time limit on it. Very thorough. It doesn't mean that the building at this location can never be changed, but it means that there has to be notice given to the Historical Commission before anything major is done. And we voted unanimously 3-0 to recommend approval.
Further discussion, Councilor Zede?
I'd just like to ask the history of this. How did the preservation restriction come to exist? Little refresher would be appreciated.
Councilor Agaman?
There is a very esoteric section of the planning code called section Roman numeral 6-C, where you are allowed to split a lot into substandard sizes. So you take an existing lot, which really is not supposed to support more than one building, and you can get special dispensation from the planning board, not the zoning board, to allow you to split it, but there has to be some tangible public benefit. And there's various things that can qualify, and one of them is that you can demonstrate that you're preserving a historic structure perpetually, and that's the case here. So my understanding is the special permit was granted about a year ago. A little bit of a hiccup, they already sold the house, but the current resident who bought it in March has agreed that she will sign this restriction. And the new house has not been begun yet. They can't get the building permit until this is put on registry and sale.
Further discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
the second for removal and approval was?
I had the second.
Okay. Councilor Devlin, did you wish to chime in on this?
No.
No, you just, okay. I thought I saw a hand.
Rubbing my eye.
No, no, it's always the other hand. Let's go.
That's not the old one.
No further discussion? I'll take a voice vote on this. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Anything else, Councilor Agaman?
Just an announcement. So we'll be meeting tomorrow night to hear. You'll see we have a lot of stuff backed up in our committee. Every item, there are 5 of them with the word marijuana in it, will be before us. Most importantly would be Councilor Earl's zoning for retail. That won't be the last meeting because, for one thing, the planning board has to have a hearing under state law. But we really want to get going on it, and we don't. We hope all of you can make it, and we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of clarification.
Yes, Councilor O'Brien.
I think the vote on the Merrimack Street has to be a roll call because it's an ordinance, not an order.
I think it's in order.
It's an order, isn't it?
It's listed here as an order.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to take a roll call vote because it's a disposition of real estate. But I don't think it's required.
That's a fair point. What's the best parliamentary procedure then if we already voted on it?
At this point, leave it because you've already taken a voice vote. But
We could take a confirmatory
you can take a
roll call
confirmatory roll call.
if there was a motion from the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Confirmatory roll call on this matter.
Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tonto.
Yes.
Councilor Z.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Agaman.
Yes.
Councilor Connell. So the record should note there's a roll call vote also. Same count.
Thank you, Councilor O'Brien.
Nothing further from planning and development. Thank you.
Public safety.
Yes, motion to remove communication 53 from 62518, Block Party, Temple Street.
Second.
Motion to approve, sorry.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? It's out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve. Discussion. Councilor Devlin, excuse me.
You heard earlier the questions I asked of Susan Crawford. I had a good conversation with her, a very nice woman. She said this is the first time they've done it, but they've talked about it for the 15 years, every year for the 15 years she's lived there.
Something.
Study it first.
Their street is right by where the bed race happened, so they go down and watch the bed race. Some neighbors participate in it. So they always said this would be a great time to have a block party, and that's what they're going to do. They are a very close knit group of neighbors. There are some newcomers that they've spoken to who are very excited about the chance to have the block party. They know that they have to invite everybody. They have email lists, and they're going to flyer. But it's just, they know everybody on and there's no amplified music, so it's just a barbecue. It came out of committee 3-0.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Anything else from public safety?
Yes, motion to remove communication 54 from June 25th, 2018, Block Party, Dub Street.
Second.
Moving and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, it's out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor,
Yes. I talked to Dan Denier, who is the husband of Melissa Duncan at 14 Dove Street. They're on the application. Dan couldn't remember, it was his 7th or 8th year. Unlike the Hartfords, smartly, they put Melissa in charge of getting this permit because she got it in time. But the husband was very helpful on the phone. They haven't had any complaints. They flyer all of their neighbors. They have an email list from previous years. They've never had any complaints. They have all their sign-offs. They have requested amplified music. They've requested and been approved amplified music in the past. It's usually 2 to 3 piece band. A neighbor gets them from the Berkeley School of Music, so it's really good. And this is pretty close to my house, so I think I'm gonna go crash some of these things. I've decided I know about all of them, and they sound like good times.
Research.
Yeah, exactly. I think I have to go research. But it came out of committee 3-0.
Further discussion? Councillor Shand.
As this is next to my street and having been to this block party a few times, yes, it is a good one to crash. Because at the bottom of the street, you can see the fireworks. It's a great party, so highly recommend it.
We'll be there.
Good.
You have any parking?
Do we have parking?
Any parking down there for councils?
You can park in Warren Street.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, motion to remove, oh, well, no. Oh, no, okay. Well, I got confused by the late file part. Motion to remove communication 59 from 6/25/18, the slow bike race.
Was a second. Councillor Zede. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, it's out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Khan. Discussion?
Yes. I spoke to Michelle Norton. This runs from 4 to 8. They have all their sign-offs. They've done this before. They have their insurance. It is properly dated for the 2 days that they will, need it for. There was no map. I did bring that up with Michelle, and she said it's about 40 feet on right in front of City Hall. I said, okay, I'll ask the committee members if they would like to waive that, and they all agreed it was not necessary. They close off Pleasant from Green to Titcomb. They expect about 200 people. All the money goes to local groups that ask them for grant money or ask them for donations and money that furthers their extension, upkeep, upgrade of coastal trails. She does need to sign it. I think in her haste she didn't sign it, so we're going to have her do that. And technically, from our change she wrote down that she doesn't notify abutters. But we're going to have her flyer the 3 or 4 houses at the end of the street as a condition of this. So the condition is that she signs this and that they flyer and notify the abutters and then let the clerk know that they did that. It came out of committee with those conditions, 3-0.
Very well. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very well. Public Utilities.
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
Rules Committee.
Yes, Mr. President, in lieu of the chair and vice chair, motion to remove Order 44.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. President, further motion to waive the rules and allow the council to consider this without a committee meeting. Second.
Any further discussion? And the passage of this would mean that we meet one time in August, and that would be the 13th of August. Is that correct?
This is just a motion to waive the rules.
Motion to waive the rules. I'm sorry. Yes. Bristol, so we better do that with a roll call since we need 2/3. So I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Fine. Motion to waive the rules for Order 44. Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Khan?
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien?
No.
Councilor Shan?
Yes.
Councilor Tonta?
Yes.
Councilor Zede?
Yes.
Councilor Devlin?
Yes.
Councilor Earls?
Yes.
Councilor Eigenman?
Yes.
Councilor Connell?
Yes.
Okay, so that passes by 2/3. It's on the floor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve. Councillor Eigenman.
Just on behalf of the president who's indisposed, this will be one meeting in August. The last meeting in August will be canceled. That's it.
Further discussion? Councilor Zede.
I want to rise in support of this. You know, I think since we had our kind of retreat earlier this year and just reshuffled some of our rules, done a lot of thinking and continue to do a lot of thinking about how we kind of operate and the pace with which we do things. And I think not only because it's summer, but I think it just makes sense. I think I've actually thought at length about whether we could do one meeting a month just as our regular affair, and I would certainly take strong exception to anybody who says it's because somebody doesn't want to do the job or isn't interested in showing up. I can tell you right now, I have 4 meetings on the calendar this week at least, and I'm sure most of you have something similar, whether it's nighttime or daytime. But those who observe us closely know that a lot of work happens in committee, and so it's not like because we don't meet, we're not around or we're not working. So I think what it comes down to for me overall, and not only in support of this, but in general, is quality. So there's a certain question of how much we can take on at one time. And this year, I think we've gotten absolutely steamrolled with some of the stuff we've had to do. You know, a lot of things out of our control. Marijuana, you know, has its own deadline. And so we try our best to move as quickly as we can. So I'm supporting this, and I think it's a good test for us. So we have one meeting in July and one meeting in August, and we see how it goes. Free cash is frozen, so there can't be any transfers until October. I mean, really, a lot of the most urgent stuff we do is transfers because they come in and the administration often wants us to move them, understandably. So that's why I'm supporting this, and I hope you will too, and I hope we can keep the discussion going that we sort of started in the retreat about what we do and, you know, not burning ourselves out because we need good quality work, especially on a lot of the heavy issues, and I think this fall, I can already tell the cauldron's starting to boil, so it'll be a busy fall then as well.
Thank you, Councilor. Additional comment? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call on this matter.
This is the motion to approve Order 44. Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
No.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tantar.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
No.
Councilor Agaman.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes.
Motion passes. 2 noes, 1 absent.
Thank you, Councilor. So our next meeting will be?
August.
It's 13th, isn't it? Yeah.
13th, yes.
13th.
Yep.
It is the 13th, August 13th. One meeting in August, August 13th.
For the good of the order, I have 2 announcements that I'll wait to the end of your comments for those.
Very quick, it's not 9 o'clock yet. I just wanted to recognize DPS for going out with David Zink, the electrician, and straightening all of the street lamps on State Street. I don't think that had been done since they were installed in 1975-ish, so I just want to thank the department for that.
Very well. Anything else? Councilor Shan.
Just want to thank DPS for going out to Dove Street. They did find a 1760 cistern at the bottom of Dove Street when they were digging up the sidewalks this week, and they are going to make sure it's protected before they do the overlay of the brick sidewalks there.
I saw that.
Thank
yeah.
you, DPS.
Cool.
Comments. Others? I have one, and I think many of us got a communication from either Representative Kelcourse or Senator O'Connor Ives. There are 2 appropriations that have just recently successfully passed from the House to the Senate, and I believe the Senate's about to engross these bills. One includes a $500,000 appropriation for the city of Newburyport to address traffic safety concerns between the Route 1, the Gillis Bridge, and the traffic circle. And I believe that there's some concern about the crossing down by the traffic circle from one end of our new rail trail to the end of our existing rail trail, and that's certainly welcome news, I think, for anybody who is concerned about that crossing, particularly since we had an unfortunate fatality in that area within the last year. The second one is a $1 million appropriation through the, I believe it's the open space bond or the environmental bond? Environmental, okay, the environmental bond. And this, subject to getting it into a spending plan, would give us some of the assistance we're going to need in developing and implementing, not developing, but implementing our resiliency plan. And I think both Representative Kelcourse and Senator O'Connor-Ives deserve our thanks, our recognition for making sure that these funds were put into the budget and into the bond authorization so that we have access to them at some time in the future. Any other points that people would like to make in the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're done.